We're at the Bebout Veterinary Medical Center. I'm with Dr. Brandon Bebout. Last week we talked a little bit about itchies and allergies. We're moving on to the environmental allergies.
Yes, so really common. We're here in Nebraska. We've had a very wet year. It's raining literally as we speak, and so we're very blessed to have that. Rain is a good thing, according to Luke Bryan. And so essentially, Nebraska is a hot spot for allergies. When you look at a physical map of the United States, you go western Nebraska, Chapel, Scottsbluff, Gering, very rocky, a lot drier, less fauna, flora. And as we head east into Kearney, Lincoln, Omaha, you see a lot of green trees and all that kind of stuff. That is what our dogs are allergic to. Our grasses outside, the trees, there's a whole long list on our allergy panel that kind of shows us what we're allergic to. Now, we talked about food, that there's specific areas that we look at when we see that they're scratching their head or they're scooting on the carpet, and we say that's food. Ears can also be a big one with environmental. And we also see chewing, licking the paws, very common with these guys, kicking at their undersides, or they're getting little hot spots, and it's distributed to what's touching them. So the grasses, they go out there, lay in the grass, and then they're itchy on their belly, right? And so how do we attack environmental allergies? I always talk to clients, and if you're watching this and you're a client of mine, you're going to say, yeah, he's told me that before. Same spiel, three different ways to treat it. Number one, nobody takes me up on, that's moving to the Yukon. Move above the timberline, you won't have allergies. And so in a more serious sense, the other two is one, comfort therapies. And so that's kind of what we have here today, a laundry list of comfort therapies. We have a couple medicated shampoos, and so that will kind of kill off some of the bacteria, get rid of kind of the excessive skin barrier, allow that barrier to be solid so those allergens can't penetrate through that disrupted membrane. And then we have our anti-itch medications, and so they're essentially analogs. We have Cytopoint and we have Apoquel. Cytopoint is an injectable form, essentially of an antibody, and so essentially all these drugs that we're seeing on commercials are these monoclonal antibodies, and essentially they're just binding the reason for the itch, buzz, and so we bind that through the injection. It carries it around for a period of time, 4 to 8 weeks. I just saw a commercial this morning for it, and then it will lose its affinity, and then we repeat it as necessary. Okay. Some dogs are 3 or 4 weeks, some dogs are 10 or 12 weeks. It just kind of depends on your dog. It can also wax and wane throughout the seasons, of course, as we know. Memorial Day to Labor Day, we have different things, harvest going on later in the day, and so sometimes we'll see some spikes. Apoquel, very similar to Cytopoint, has a few different mechanisms of action, but they also are an anti-itch, but that is a daily or every other day, essentially the lowest achievable dose pill, but just stops the itch within about an hour or two.
Now, is this something that they're going to be living with for the rest of their pet life, and something that needs to be done on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis?
Depends on your dog. Golden Retrievers, Labradors, Pit Bulls, Boxers, there's a lot of itchy dogs, itchy breeds out there, and so if we want to get beyond that, then we work our way to allergy testing. And so allergy testing is essentially a blood draw. We send that out to a lab. They test it against all the things in Nebraska. Oh yes, here's your booklet, you're allergic to Nebraska, and then they form a serum that you're going to give injections to, and I want to make that clear. You will be giving injections to your dog. We can demo this, we can teach you how to do it. Most of you out there can definitely do this, and it is a long-term fix to desensitize them to the environment, and it essentially lessens the load of the comfort therapies. You might have to dabble in that here and there, but this will really desensitize them. My sister's doggy's on it and has greatly helped her, and so it just kind of goes through a process, and long term, from a fiscal perspective, it's also the cheapest way to go about it long term.
Okay, but just maybe where would you start if you?
I always start with comfort therapies while we're thinking about, and you just have to be severe enough to where we say, yep, I think you're an allergy testing dog, and while we're getting that desensitized, which can take a few months, we cover them with medicated Basins, the Cytopoint and Apoquel.
A lot of great information in this week's Pet Doc. Join us next Monday for another edition of Pet Doc.